You got even more attack choices and some of the more popular cards you're going to be seeing out of this weekend. Now make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Dark Ruler No More. So the discussion right now is what is going to be the best board breaker into Cool Tune format. Now you got a couple of things to think about. Alright, you can use Book of Eclipse to try to book their whole field. You can use Dark Ruler No More to try to blanket their whole effects and take advantage that they might not have the targeting negate up. Or you can try to use Evenly Matched to also get targeted and negated. All of these cards are going to be symptoms of, is the targeting negate up? And if you're playing Dark Ruler No More, to what advantage do they have a way to actually reestablish a potential runaround on the chain block? And that's kind of what we've been led into looking at right now is, how much power and with what options that were being provided are going to work out the best for this. Cool Tune is 100% the deck to beat right now. You've got players out here that are just, they're trying to find the secret tech to beat it. And obviously, I think something like Super Poly is just the best means to the end. You're being able to break the board a lot easier. But one thing is for certain right now. The amount of uptick in Dark Ruler No More right now is a lot more than I initially expected to see from this community. And obviously, as long as you can get the Dark Ruler to resolve and you're able to shut off all those effects while still playing around the additional tools that the Cool Tune players are going to have, it will work out. It looks like I said, I think Dark Ruler is the leading one, but Super Poly is like 150% better at effectively getting the job done on the cutoff, which, okay, I mean, that's fine. Ghost Ogre's placement into this upcoming format. So right now there's been an argument, who's better, 6-step Ghost Spell or Ghost Spell? Right now, Ogre provides you with a solution to the branded matchup. Do you know how many times you'll see a Fallen of Albaz pop out in the field and apply his effect, and you just kind of stare at it and go, well, shit, if this resolves, I'm about to lose this entire game. Well, luckily for you, having your trusty Ghost Ogre in your hand, having this card right here, your trusty Ghost Ogre, to be able to slam on the field when that, Fallen of Albaz is attempting to resolve to, suck up your entire field and just ruin your day, you're able to provide yourself with that solution. You have that layer of protection established for you. That's why Ghost Ogre is looking like a card that players confidently are kind of starting to push into. And honestly, I think that's good. I think that having access to that Ghost Ogre is going to help things out a lot with the deck. And I like that. I like that Ogre is becoming a hand trap that we can have a discussion on again as the meta kind of decides, do we want to push in this direction? What advantages are we going to have of having Ghost Ogre be present in the meta? You kind of weigh those pros and cons, but definitely Ghost Ogre's relevancy against the Brandon matchup, which is already a extremely hard Cool Tune matchup, by the way. Like, your meta has shifted into, Cool Tune versus the Challenger, which is branded in the room. And obviously, if you can make that argument, you can see definitely why the meta is kind of shifting around in these pivotal directions. Mannadium Reframing. This has been, I think, the funniest argument that I have seen from the player base. The argument has been, do we main the reframing, do we side the reframing, or do we not even play the reframing at all? Well, first of all, I think having the reframing access is important. Okay, so the other thing is when you're looking at the Visus monster as a whole, his job is to be able to use multiple tuner monsters to be able to go into so that you can actually, do your thing. But also, Reframing's purpose is to be a card that, you can use going first. A lot of Cool Tune players just won't even main the card. They will have access to it in the side deck. as an option for them to search, which is wonderful. All right, Reframing is one of those cards that its job is to make going first more consistent for you. You need powerhouse cards that actually make your job better and more consistent. And obviously, that's what the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is all about at this point. It's about, having consistency cards that can actually make your deck better. And in the case of, oops, I'm playing Cool Tune, I can go into the Vices, I can go into, whatever extra bits and pieces I'm going to need. You're still going to lose the Super Poly on the Vices reframing board, which, is just going to be the symptom of the times, right? Like, there's nothing that you can do about that. But in every other scenario, I feel like Reframing is just going to be a better card. You want this card to be able to just establish, congratulations, you've done your job, you've set up a good field, and it's just that. But Vices will be a good part of the meta kind of going forward, with where players are kind of establishing, where they want this deck to go. The chaotic cancer of Secret Village. So we've already seen a list recently that was playing a Nadir Ecclesia branded build, but they just cut out all of the branded cards. Well, okay, they were still playing like Guiding Clems, Blazing Cartesia, things like that. But the way that this deck was working was they had gutted out all of the excess, no branded fusion, no terminus. And instead, we're playing the branded package to be able to, get the deck more consistently off of the ground, which is an interesting idea, to say the least. Now, because of that, you've got Ecclesias, you've got the Fleur-de-Lis access. That means that, boom, we're going to be able to roll the Secret Village lock against the opponent. And not one, not two, but 3 Secret Villages are coming up in the side deck now for these lists. Why, let alone like this card still being legal, but the fact that we're seeing the Secret Village problem again. Now, a lot of these decks in this format are already kind of counter picking against this as it is, because we're already starting to see, decks playing less spell cards. Once you kind of start to take that shift away from the meta and you're like, all right, what if we play less of these spells, and we start to, shift in another direction, Secret Village loses a lot of its power. Sure, that's fine, but God, it is just so weird to see now a deck like Branded has shifted to playing, basically being Dogmatica at this point, and is just looking to, Secret Village as hard as you can. That's modern era Yu-Gi-Oh! In a nutshell, man. It's pretty crazy. And anti-spell fragrance. I'm not surprised to see the nastiness of anti-spell fragrance still sitting here in the back room of the format, because right now where we are in the format is pretty straightforward, right? Like, spell cards are the most critically important part of the game. Obviously, if your opponent has a Cool Tune Synchro in their hand, well, you just lost all of the validity of your anti-spell fragrance. But if you do need to see anti-scam fragrance as a lockout to not losing to a dimensional fissure, for example, this is also another card that you can see going first. You can do your entire Cool Tune field, and then you can go into their turn, have, the protection established. But the other thing is, like, if your opponent's got the Spell and Trap part of the Cool Tune breaker established, you're just going to get your field busted apart anyway. So there's really not much of a discussion to be had here as to, is this going to plug in or not? It's just, how good is anti-spell fragrance versus the meta, the rest of the meta? And the answer is, it's about as good as it's always been. It's just, now you have to fight the Forbidden and Limited list in terms of, these numbers in order to, get the best consistent results for what you want to see. And ladies and gentlemen, I gotta tell you, all these tech choices aside, YCS this weekend is going to be very interesting just to see, what players are going to bring to the table, what are going to be the big tech choices. And honestly, it's going to be a rough one, but you got some good cards here. So please, comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back there in day, guys.
Patrons!
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.